And now the Hebrew vowels. The Hebrew vowels were added by the Masoretes in the 600s and thereafter. They weren't part of the original Hebrew text. The Dead Sea Scrolls don't have them. Modern Hebrew doesn't use them. If you pick up a newspaper and so forth, you just know the sounds. But for those of us who are learning the Bible for study and so forth, we usually are using a Hebrew text that has the vowels. And so they're very helpful. Let's learn the Hebrew vowels now systematically. So there are, first of all, the A vowels of a sort. And here we want to talk about the long one, and then the normal one, I'm calling it, and then the short one. And so the long A, and you transliterate it, and I'll have the next video will be transliteration video. The long A is the kamats, and it's basically a little T written under the consonant. And that's the long A, kamats, pronounced ah. The length is a matter of how long the sound is held primarily, not a matter of a change of quality like a, that's an English kind of thing. Mostly, kamats is a longer, you hold the sound longer, ah. By the way, there are, if you've watched my videos, you know that there are these consonants that piggyback certain vowels. So ancient Hebrew was kind of beginning a system of hinting, there's a vowel here. There were three letters, the yod, the vav, and the hey, like the hey, what the hey, that were beginning to kind of hint, there's a vowel that goes here. And so kamats hey is a kind of long, a hint that you have a long A. The hey was beginning to hint, this is a long A. And only at the end of a word, though. So a lot of times there are Hebrew words that end in a kamats hey, and that's not really, it's not a consonantal hey. It's not a real hey, as it were. It's a helper for the kamats. It's a clue that the ancient Israelites were beginning to use to say a long A goes here. By the way, when the final hey is a real consonant hey, it has a dot in it called a mapik, but more on that at some other time. So the kamats is a long A, and it can the hey, the vav, and the yod, when they're used in this way, they're called mothers of reading. In Latin, matres lectionis. But so the kamats, the long A, the first A vowel, ah. The kind of normal A, and by that I mean the A without a long or short mark, is the patak. It's a shorter A than the kamats. So if the kamats is ah, the patak is ah, or something like that. It's just not as long. And I'm sure I massacred that. But so kamats is the long A, transliterated with a long mark over it. The patak is a normal A. So if this is ah, this is ah. Okay. There is a even shorter A, the katef patak, which is a shortened A, and it's transliterated as an A with a short mark over it. And you can see that it is the patak with a shava on the side. That's the katef patak. It's a shortened A. So again, I'm going to massacre it, but if this was ah and this was ah, then this would be ah. So again, how long you hold the short out, the sound out. So these are the three A's. A case of three A's, the three A vowels. Now I'm going to go ahead and throw shava. It's not really an A vowel, okay? The shava is not an A vowel, but this seems like a convenient place to mention that the shava is the shortest vowel of all. It's and it's actually transliterated with an upside down E. But again, transliteration video is next. So we have the long A, kamats, we have the normal A, patak, and we have the shortened A, katef patak. I've also seen this written kataf patak, but I learned it katef patak, and that's what I'm going with. All right, so the A vowels, A, Fonzie. So I'm going to go ahead and put the I and the E vowels together on a chart too, although some people separate them out, the I and the E. But I'm going to start with the I vowel, and that's the hirik. The hirik is a simple one dot. It can also be written as a hirik yod. Again, ancient Israelites, they were beginning to hint, there's a I sound here by putting a yod in the middle. You know, when Jesus talks about not one jot or tittle, well, the yod isn't necessarily. It's a piggyback. It's a hint. There's a vowel here. So jot is not an essential item to be written without the yod. But Herrick yod is very common. You'll find Herrick yod quite often in various places in Hebrew. So the Herrick is a normal I, and I'm going to transliterate it just with an I. So let's go to the E vowels now. So the Sere is a long E, Sere, and it's pronounced A. I know that's confusing. Like, wait a minute, how is that A when it's written E? Ours is not to question why. Ours is just to memorize or die. So Sere is transliterated as an E with a long mark over it, a macron. By the way, the yod can also be piggybacked with a Sere, Sere yod. So if this is Herrick yod, this is Sere yod. Sere yod is common in certain what's called a construct form, but I will resist telling you about that. Okay, so Herrick is the I, Sere is the long E. So what is the normal E? And I'm calling it normal, meaning it doesn't have either a long or a short mark over it, and that's the Segol. So Segol, so notice we have 1 dot, 2 dot, 3 dots, 4. No, there aren't any 4 dots, but anyway, Segol, 3 dots, 1, 2, 3. Herrick is an I, Sere is a long E, Segol is a normal E. And this is not nearly as common as the Herrick. The Herrick yod is very common, the Sere yod is common, the Segol yod is not real common, but it does appear. And in each of these cases, the yod is a piggyback for the vowel. The ancient Israelites, it was hinting there's a vowel here, either an I or an E vowel here. There is a reduced Segol called a Katef Segol, which again, remember we had the Katef Patak, which was a Patak with a Shavah next to it. This is the Katef Segol, which is a short E. See the little short mark over the top. And so we have a long E, Sere, we have a normal E, Segol, and then we have a short E, the Katef Segol, which is written like this. These are reduced vowels. So less and less sound as you go down the list. So those are the I and E vowels. One more page, and we'll be done with this video. The O and U vowels. So let's start with the O vowel. So the holum is a long O, and I'm sorry that there should have been a long mark on the top of that. Oh, curses upon me. There should be a long mark, a macron, over the O. Notice that this is the only one of the vowels that is written above the letter. The other ones we've seen so far have been below the letter. So you can see this is called a holum vav, which is the holum on top of the vav, or the vav malay, I think is another way perhaps to say it. So the holum is a long O. There is a normal O called a kamatz katuf, and you might be saying, wait a minute, that looks just like the long A. Yes, I'm sorry, the Masoretes weren't perfect in their system. How do you know when it's a long A and when it's a normal O? How do you know? How do you know? You'll know eventually. We'll get used to it. You should probably assume that it's the long A. In the majority of cases, it's the long A. So I'll just tell you, you don't worry about this. We'll learn it. This is as we see more and more verses, we'll learn it. But the way you tell is the kamatz katuf is always in a closed syllable. A closed syllable is where you have consonant, vowel, consonant. And so if it's a closed syllable, then you know it's a short vowel, unless it's accented. I mean, there's a lot of rules. Don't worry about it. Don't worry, don't fret. But basically, if it's a unaccented closed syllable, then the kamatz is a short O. Don't worry about it. You'll figure it out with practice. Most of the time, it's the kamatz gadol. I think it's sometimes called the great kamatz, the long A. I hope I'm not making that up. It jumped out of my subconscious. Okay, so the kamatz katuf is a normal O. Then there's the katef kamatz. This is a short O. See, we've got the short mark over it. And again, notice we've had 3 reduced vowels. We have the katef patak, the katef segol, and the katef kamatz. The katef patak is a short A, the katef segol is a short E, and the katef kamatz is a short O. Okay, one more here. Well, actually 2 more. So the kibbutz is a 3 dot, going down the stairs, and that is a short U, kibbutz. And so dot, 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 like going down the stairs, going down the escalator, and that's a short U. However, this is the sharuk. and I'm sorry, the Shrek. Shrek, you remember? There's a movie about him. The Sharuk. The Sharuk is a vav with a dot in it. That's not a dagash. That's a u. So this is a u with a long mark over it. And again, the vav is serving as a mother of reading, a piggyback for the u vowel. So this is a long u pronounced u, the Sharuk. Okay, and I realize that looks like it's Shrek, but some of these vowels are pronounced differently by different people. I'm going to pronounce this as Sharuk. Okay, this has been a video on the Hebrew vowels. Don't worry about it. Again, if that all was very confusing, let me hit the highlights just one last time. Long A, kamatz. Normal A, patak. Katef patak is reduced A. Shava is the shortest vowel of all. It's not even an A. Then the E, we have the hirik, which is an I. We have the seri, which is a long E. We have the sagol, which is a normal E. And then we have a reduced sagol, the katef sagol, which is a short E. Then for the U, we have the cholam, which is above. We have the kamatz katuf, which is not very frequent, but it's a normal O. We have the reduced O, the short O, the katef kamatz, in some cases, the kibbutz, which is just a U, and then the sharuk, which is a vav with a dot in the middle. And those are the Hebrew vowels. More to come. Again, don't worry. What's hard today will be easy tomorrow.